Hare, Hare Krishna. Humble pranams to everyone. Welcome all to the 2025 Krishna Katha series. The quiz for yesterday's quiz is Avishikta Datta. So far, we have heard the advent of Lord Krishna, prayers by demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb, and birth of Lord Krishna. Today, we will hear the pastime on Kamsa begins his persecution by Ashish Dantu Prabhu. Prabhuji has studied masters in information technology. Currently, he is the head of production technology at an animation studio. Prabhuji began his preaching activities at Brigade Utopia and is always enthusiastic to render various services for ISKCON Whitefield. His deep understanding of the Bhagavad Gita has been truly life transforming. He has also practiced Krishna consciousness during his time in Canada. Let's welcome Prabhuji by chanting Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, kindly start the session, please.
Hare Krishna to all devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Sonia Mataji, for the warm welcome. I offer my humble obeisances to all devotees who are attending this wonderful Krishna Ratri series. I offer my deep gratitude to the ISKCON organizers who have given me this wonderful seva. Though I'm not at all qualified, I'm sure this seva is going to purify me. Thank you. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hari Bol to all of you. Yes, so today I'm very delighted to share this katha with you, and this is the auspicious Krishna Janmashtami Katha series. So I will start by doing a very quick recap of what we discussed in this series so far. On day one, His Grace Sudhir Gopal Prabhuji talked about how Vasudev tries to pacify Kamsa, right? And in the first chapter, the prophecy of Kamsa's death by Devaki's eighth son happens, and then that baffles the Kamsa, the Kamsa Maharaj, right? And we saw how protection of the devotees has been the plan of Sri Krishna, right? And on the second day, Manjulali Mataji nicely presented the prayers of the demigods, and we heard the wonderful pastime of Lord through the Garbhastuti story, right? We saw how all the demigods would pray and offer their obeisances and prayers to Sri Krishna and Mata Devaki also. And yesterday, His Grace Gopinath Prana Prabhu very wonderfully described the Krishna's appearance and why was it so special, correct? So, we also understood the importance of faith and surrender to Lord Krishna. So today I'm very excited and delighted to talk about the fourth chapter, which is Kamsa beginning his persecutions, right? Okay, so now let's look at what did Kamsa do in this part of the story. So the story starts here with Vasudeva, who returns from Gokula after switching babies. So yesterday we discussed how Vasudev went through the 16 gates of the prison, and he went all the way to Gokul and on the instructions of Sri Krishna, right? So we saw how he just followed the steps given by Sri Krishna, and he crossed all the 16 gates of the prison. So 16 gates of the prison are explained by our acharyas as the 16 gates of Maya, right? And they did not stop Sudev in doing the activity that Krishna has requested him to do it, right? Or rather, ordered the devotee to do. So Vasudev, the devotee, had Krishna in his heart, right? He basically touched him. He nicely, packed Lord Krishna, and being very peaceful. As soon as he got in touch with Krishna, he went in the difficult night. Why was it a difficult night? If anybody remembers, it was the dark night. It was raining very heavily, and in that situation, in the surrendered mode, the Vasudev was not even touched by Maya in any way. Maya could not trouble him. Correct. So we heard all that pastimes where Vasudev constantly kept remembering, and he was in the service of Lord Krishna. So Kamsa kept remembering Krishna on the other side in a very pratikul manner, right? And how did that happen, or why did he do that? Because he was doing it out of envy. He felt he was the enemy of Lord Krishna, right? So um, Vasudev also depicts how being a devotee and associated with Lord, or in our case, we can be associated constantly with our Lord through the chanting of the Mahamantra. So once Mahamantra is dancing on our tongue, what happens? Any guesses? All Maya vanishes, right? It doesn't affect us anymore, like we saw with Vasudev. All the doors of the prison magically opened, right? All the shackles were to the side. All the soldiers were automatically put to sleep. It's a wonderful pastime leela we can see. And so can we also experience something similar? I think yes. So guess what? So we can recite the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and we invite Krishna on our tongue, and we will be getting the association of Lord Krishna. So let's chant here. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. So let's proceed and see what's happening. So yes, all the 16 prison gates actually, when Vasudev returns back from Gokula, he's trying to enter the prison back, and he wants to make sure everything is put back in the same situation as it was before he went to Gokula. So when Vasudeva returns to the prison, all the 16 prison gates actually close back automatically. And then what happened? Based on the divine arrangement, the protection of the mission of Lord's Janmashtami was beautifully executed. Right? There was no harm done to the devotee, the Devaki Maya and Vasudevji. And right after Vasudevji brought the eighth baby and put next to Devaki Maya, the baby started crying. So what happened? The gatekeeper suddenly woke up and saw there is a newborn who is crying, and they remembered, oh, this is the moment we were trying to be ready for, and they ran and informed the king, right? And who did they inform? As we see in the picture here, the perplexed Kamsa rushes back to the jail, and he wants to find out who this baby is. And he remembers the prophecy who said the eighth baby of Devaki Maya is his death, right? So he becomes very perplexed and he rushes to the jail. Okay, now here we'll try to also quickly see what are some of the lessons which we can relate to. So the divine protection is always working for devotees, even though it is invisible, isn't it? We saw how everything magically opened for Vasudev, and when he came back, these gates closed, the shackles came back, the soldiers got up. This is basically just divine protection to protect the devotees, but to also execute God's mission. Wonderful. Now let's see what's happening next, right? So then Kamsa tries to kill the eighth baby. So how does that happen, right? So as soon as Kamsa heard about the eighth baby, he came running. Oh, this is my death. So he was thinking mentally, he was remembering Krishna, but in a unfavorable manner. So he came running, right? Now we see that Mother Devaki starts pleading with Kamsa to spare the female baby, right? So Mother Devaki, who is another personification of Vatsalya Rasa or motherly love, kept thinking, oh, my new baby who is born should never be hurt by Kamsa. So she cried and pleaded very much to Kamsa. So she was also remembering how the prophecy mentioned a boy who will be the killer of Kamsa. So she used that fact and she was trying to convince Kamsa to leave the baby girl aside and not kill her. She wanted her daughter to survive, and she tries to convince Kamsa. She also mentioned that, hey Kamsa, this is not your own thought of killing the babies. It is not your fault. But you did it only because your bad association around you told you to do so. So you're a very good person. Please leave the child, right? Please leave the baby girl. Now, this is what Mother, Devaki was trying to plead. And then our cruel Kamsa, do you think he agreed? He definitely did not. So what did he do? He refuses to spare the life of the baby girl and tries to dash the baby on the stone, right? Exactly like he did with the previous babies. Now the child, when was thrown towards the ground, slips from his hands and rises to the sky, right? Just look at imagine the Leela here, right? So he's very angry and he throws the baby and the child slips. And the baby reveals herself as goddess Durga. Durga Maya ki jai. So Durga or Yoga Maya, with 8 arms, she basically manifests and shows herself to Kamsa, right? So just imagine what would it be like, right? If you were watching it live. So yeah, let's see some points here. So Maya or Durga Maya, who is the exterior material energy of Sri Krishna, is serving Krishna's purpose, right? Isn't that beautiful, right? Okay. Next, we'll see how what happened next, right? So goddess Durga, who manifested there, gives a warning. Warning to whom, right? So she is basically giving a warning to Kamsa. So goddess Durga Maya addresses Kamsa as you rascal. She's basically very furious and she scolds him, and she reminds him that he cannot harm her at all, right? Obviously, she's Durga Maya, right? An external energy of Lord Krishna. Who can touch her? Now she tells Kamsa that the real child is already born elsewhere, who is going to be death personified for Kamsa, right? And she warns him very sternly not to be cruel to his sister, right? Because he attempted to be, cruel by trying to kill his own cousin sister, Devaki Maya, right? So Durga Maya is saying, don't even think of hurting or harming your own sister, right? So some lessons here. So divine justice is inevitable. So in this case, karma caught up with Kamsa and is now seeing the reactions to his own ill deeds. Even the powerful demon like Kamsa cannot escape their destiny. Is it not? He thought he will do whatever he wants and he probably will escape, but his karma came back as a destiny. Right? Now imagine the scene, right, where Durga Maya is warning and was very angry on Kamsa. So now let's see what happened immediately. So in this case, Kamsa start repenting suddenly. Okay, so Kamsa, the demon, generally demons worship Devis, and he actually was observing and trying to understand what had happened. So Devaki gave birth to a female baby who turned out to be Durga Maya herself. So he assumed that Devaki Maya might have special powers, and henceforth she was able to give birth to Durga Maya as a baby child. So thinking all that, he started feeling guilty, and with pity he asked for forgiveness, right? Okay, next let's see what happened. He started talking to Vasudev and Devki Maya about some philosophical facts actually. So let's go through what these are, right? So he mentioned to them how we are all under one superpower. Who is the superpower that we are all referring to? Lord Krishna, the ultimate supreme personality of Godhead, right? And he continues to explain how we all are just souls who have assembled into a family, into a friends group, and so on and so forth, and that the body has to die one day. Correct? Now, he continues to use this logic to explain that the babies who are to die in his hands, that they went through their destiny, essentially trying to say he was not responsible, and please don't get angry on me because of those atrocities that he committed. And then he also gives an example or an analogy of the pot and the soil. So as we can see in this picture, from the soil or mud, once it is processed with water, it is used to make pottery, correct? Now, after some days of usage, the pot can break and it can be thrown away. So at that point, though the pot is from the soil, the pot after some time, after some functions, is of no use. It is temporary, correct? But when it is thrown away into the soil, it is of no use. So the pot is very temporary, but the soil in which made the pot is very permanent, right? So yes. So now, with all these thoughts going on in Kamsa's mind, he releases Vasudeva and Devaki from the shackles. He personally removes the shackles from their feet and hands, and he falls at their feet seeking forgiveness, right? So he's very much repentful at this point, right? So now we can see that even demons like Kamsa can have moments of spiritual realization, right? And the truth about the eternal soul can touch any heart, is it not? So a moment earlier he was in the fury to kill the eighth baby, but in this case he started talking about soul, and he was sharing how these facts are real, right? So now I've added one more picture here. So just to touch on the point that Kamsa was trying to say. So what was he saying? He was talking about the soul and the body. So who are we? We are the soul, and body is a temporary aspect, right? So he was explaining with a part, but here we can also understand in our day-to-day lives, if the phone that we use every day is a body, it cannot live or it has no purpose without the soul which drives the phone or charges the phone. I think everybody would agree. Okay, now let's keep moving on. So now let's see what happened next, right? Kamsa spoke about all these spiritual facts. So Vasudeva again started, feeling forgiveful, and he started sharing his spiritual wisdom. So yes, Vasudeva responds with spiritual knowledge, where Vasudeva, being a devotee, is exhibiting his compassion and forgiveness. So what do devotees do? They always see the good side of anyone. There are pros and cons, positive and negative points, but Vasudev exhibits how a devotee should act. So he saw how Kamsa was speaking spiritual facts, and then offered him forgiveness. Right? Just imagine how great devotees are. Right? So Vasudev continues to explain how Kamsa was in the misconception about life, right? So he explains how material conception can create enmity and leads to atheistic activities. And then after this conversation, both sides become peaceful and friendly, right? So what can we kind of understand from this? So association with devotees brings spiritual wisdom and peace, is it not? Kamsa was agitated, was angry, he was demoniac, he was self-centered, but devotees like Vasudev, in their association, he was also pacified. Correct? Already, this is the second time he was pacified, if you can think about it. Okay. And proper understanding dissolves all material conflicts. Right? Next, Kamsa runs, having freed Vasudev and Devaki Maya. He goes back to his room, and the next day he goes to his court and he associates with his demoniac counselors and explains what had happened last night. Right? Hmm. And they all became very depressed hearing about the night's events, right? Because it did not go as per the king's plan, right? So Kamsa was also depressed, but he was very fearful, and his counselors actually said the same things. So they started thinking, oh, what is this? What happened? And they all started advising killing of all the children born in the last 10 days. Look at the evil mindedness of the of these people, right? Hmm. So they started convincing Kamsa that all demigods are weak enemies. Why did they do that? Because they were planning how they should be killing all the children in Braj, right? And they suddenly thought, oh, if we are doing these atrocities, maybe demigods will come to fight them. And then they started also discussing with Kamsa as to how demigods always bowed to Kamsa in fear. They lost multiple wars with him, so they were always going to be suppressed. So they were not going to be affected by demigods. So they were kind of building that narrative in their head, and they mentioned to Kamsa as to how he would never kill anybody who lost a battle with Kamsa. So what does Kamsa do? He subdues them and orders them to fight on behalf of him or do demonic activities when he orders them to do so. Correct. So though the demigods who lost to Kamsa earlier were always fearful of Kamsa, the counselors advised that they being determined enemies should be taken care of. Right? We should not leave the demigods as it is. We don't know what they will do when. Right? And they also gave the analogy of how if our senses are not controlled, or or we can also understand as if there is a disease, if it is not controlled in time, it can become a very very big issue later on. So they were saying these demigods are like the senses. If they're not controlled, they will have repercussions, right? And they continue on to say, yes, Lord Vishnu and all the lordships will protect demigods, but we have no fear. We should definitely punish the demigods. Okay, so here we see bad association can very quickly destroy all good impulses. Kamsa had some, good impulses in the in the previous day, right? So such spiritual realizations can be lost to any negative influences around us, right? So Srila Prabhupada through ISKCON has been giving and telling us how we should follow four regulative principles to keep away such bad association, right? Okay, next let's go forward. So the plan for persecution was being discussed as we saw. So what did they actually try to settle on? They were all advising that they should be attacking Vishnu's foundation, right? So what is Vishnu's foundation here? So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 and 10th sloka, no, it is mentioned as to how we souls, when we are born in this material world, are filled with ignorance. But we should eventually learn how to perform various yajnas for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Correct? So they so the counselors knew very well that these demigods do offer their sacrifices for the satisfaction of Vishnu, and that is the foundation for the demigods, right? So they then went on to think, okay, we should also stop all these type of activities. So they said, let's plan and to kill all brahmanas. Why brahmanas? Because they are in charge of Vedic knowledge in the society, and they also plan to kill all the cows. Why cows, right? So cows offer mercilessly, mercifully pure ghee, which is the main ingredient in various, fire sacrifices. And then the sages are the upholders of Vedic scriptures, and they tell us how to perform a particular ritual, correct? So all this is to satisfy Vishnu. So they wanted to target the Vedic knowledge and the sacrifices from not happening. So all this is to say that the demigods will be very weakened, correct? And they will not be protected by anybody else, right? Look at the extent of the criminal demoniac thought processes of the counselors. Now, the systematic persecution of spiritual principles was planned and was discussed very nicely by the counselors and Kamsa. So, attacking the devotees and spiritual principles will lead to destruction, right? We'll see in the following stories and days how this is going to actually happen, right? Okay. And those who harm Vaishnavas are basically inviting their own downfall, right? So, as the plan of persecution was made, Kamsa begins the persecution all across the kingdom, right? So, what does he do? Kamsa approves the minister's evil advice of harassment. He orders the harassment of saintly people who are performing yajnas and they are worshipping Lord Krishna, Vishnu, and the demons begin persecuting all the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, right? Just by hearing this thought, isn't it feeling very bad, right? And what did they do ultimately by this process? They picked up enmity with devotees via these offenses, right? Okay, now let's see. Um, Persecution of devotees accelerates one's downfall. And how does that happen? That happens because Srila Prabhupada explains that one's lifespan will reduce, all their auspiciousness in their life starts vanishing, and their chance of attaining higher planets goes away, right? So these are all the problems that they're actually inviting by committing these offenses. Okay, so as a summary, well, let's see how all the lessons that Kamsa and the counselors have taught us can be applied in our lives, right? So we saw how we should be very careful in choosing our association because it shapes our consciousness. We all want to be Krishna conscious, whereby we can bring Krishna in the center of our life, center of our family, center of our work, center of our friendship, or any activity that we do in our lives. Is it not? Next, we'll see that we have to be very careful to not lose spiritual realizations to bad influence. Right? We should also avoid criticizing or harassing devotees because that's one of the biggest offenses one can commit. These offenses are even higher than committing offenses to the Lord Himself directly. We should all remember that we are the eternal souls and not the material bodies, right? If you remember, Vasudev explained to Kamsa that he had a wrong conception of life. Next, we can also understand that divine justice works in its own timelines. Correct. So yes, last points here. So we should always look to seeking sadhu sangha or association of devotees so that our spiritual growth can actually happen and be progressive. So ultimately, I think we'll end with this wonderful question. So is our plan to be part of Krishna's plan? Right? Hari Bol. Yes, I hope this is our plan. And with the wonderful Janmashtami festival that we have happening very soon, I'm sure we'll all align to these wonderful lessons, right? Hari Bol. Okay. So I request everyone to see if you can switch on your cameras, right? And I would like to have darshan of all you wonderful devotees as well, right? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, to end here, I would like to make a special announcement. So we are going to share a wonderful recipe of Krishna's favorite food tomorrow, right? Any guesses on what is Krishna's favorite food, right? Yes. So please I request everybody to make sure you attend tomorrow's session, and we will see what is Krishna's food, how to prepare that for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such an insightful session. So I personally like the way, Prabhuji, you have compared the phone and the charger with body and soul. And I mean, sad point is that these demons, they can use the philosophy to protect themselves from karmic reactions. Anyhow, this kind of thought process, it won't be successful, as Krishna forgives those who commits offenses towards him, but never pardons those who commit offenses against his devotees. Cows and brahmanas are dear to Krishna. Therefore, once Kamsa showed enmity towards them, his lifespan got reduced. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra for you once, Prabhu. Everyone, please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shortly, the link to the quiz will be shared in the group. I request everybody to please participate in that. Please join tomorrow to hear more Krishna Katha. And of course, the recipe of Krishna's favorite food will be shared tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everybody. Humble pranams. I think so we can close the session.